Well, hello, my beautiful people, and welcome to Warren's Team Talk. I hope that you're all well and healthy and happy. Thank you so much for coming to watch this video. And of course, I hope that where you are, the weather is great and nice and sunny like it is here. Anyway, today I've come on to bring you episode 12 in my series, England's Most Successful Football Club. So that should be great. There's some really good stories this week. And in this brand spanking new, shiny and hot off the press episode, I cast my eyes over Notts County, Bristol City, Stoke City and Fulham, which I'm really, like I said, I'm really excited about this one, as it has some really, really interesting stories. Before I get started today, I just want to spend a couple of minutes paying tribute to Dr Jozef Venglos, who sadly passed on Tuesday, the 26th of January. He managed several clubs, but amongst them, he managed the mighty Glasgow Celtic, and then during his managerial career, he joined Aston Villa following the 1990 World Cup. He took over at Aston Villa for one season which meant he became the first manager born outside of Britain or Ireland to take charge of a club in the top tier of English football. He was appointed as head coach of Celtic on the 17th of July 1998, and during his tenure he brought in the legendary Lubo Moravcik, and he also signed Johan Mjällby. Now, Lubo Moravcik, for those of you who don't know, was an absolute genius of a football player. I would highly recommend that you look him up on YouTube, because some of the things that he did in the Celtic shirt were absolutely breathtaking. Anyway, during his season as manager at Celtic, Celtic inflicted a punishing 5-1 defeat on our bitter rivals Rangers, and also Rangers managed to hold us to a 2-2 draw at Ibrox in a game which saw Celtic absolutely batter Rangers. So anyway, rest in peace, Dr Venglos, and it goes without saying that obviously I pass my condolences to all his family, friends, colleagues, and everyone who has been adversely affected by his passing. So anyway, let's move on. If you're new to the Warren's Team Talk channel, I would obviously like to give you a very, very warm welcome, and I hope you enjoy the videos that I'm putting out. And go and check out some of the other ones that I've recorded, because I'm sure you'll find them interesting. There is a playlist for this particular series where you can find all the previous episodes that I've produced. So anyway, now on with the show, and let's get started with it. I hope that you enjoy it and find it really interesting. We're back out and around again, out and about with the Warren's Team Talk bus, and we're going to visit the first team this week. We're off on our way up to Nottingham to go and visit Notts County. Now, Notts County are arguably the world's oldest football club. They were formed in 1862. And like I say, they're reputed as being the oldest professional association football club in the world. But I think that's sort of up for debate, really. I mean, it really depends who you talk to. As we found out last week, I think Crystal Palace might dispute that fact. But anyway, so yeah, they lay claim to that title, and Notts County even predate the Football Association itself, and it was one of the 12 founder members of the Football League in 1888. They are nicknamed the Magpies due to the black and white colour of their home strip, which also inspired Italian club Juventus to adopt the colours for their kit in 1903. Now, Notts County finished third in the top flight of English football in the 1890-91 season, which remains their highest ever league position in English football. They also reached their 1891 FA Cup final, finishing as runners-up to Blackburn Rovers. And in that game, Blackburn Rovers won by 3-1 in a game which was played at Kennington Oval in front of 23,000 spectators. However, 3 years later, the club won the 1894 FA Cup final with a 4-1 victory over Bolton Wanderers. And that game was played at Goodison Park in front of 37,000 fans. Also, that same season, the club finished third in Tier 2, but unfortunately they lost 4-0 in a test match to Preston North End, a match which was played to decide who would play in the next season's top flight. And therefore, they were not promoted. Now, these test matches that you might hear me talk about were a bit like playoff games, and what seemed to happen was that the bottom 3 clubs from the first division and the top 3 clubs from the second division would play off to see who would be playing in the first division and who will be playing in the second division out of the 6 clubs. Anyway, so the very next season, in 1894-95, they finished second in Tier 2, but unfortunately lost 2-1 to Derby County in a test match, which was played, again, like I said, to decide who would play in the first and second divisions of English football for the next season. Then again, in the next season, in 1896-97, the Magpies again finished, the Magpies finished first in Tier 2, and as a consequence, they qualified for a test match, playoff match, where they beat Sunderland 1-0 on aggregate, and then went on to beat Burnley 2-1 in another test match. On the back of this, they were successfully elected to the first division, Tier 1 of English football. Then from 1897 until 1920, they played in the first division, which was then the top flight, barring the 1913-14 season, when they won the second division Tier 2 title immediately following relegation the previous year, which meant that they won promotion back again to Tier 1. Also, during this spell, they also finished third in Tier 1 in the 1901 season. They won the second division Tier 2 title for a third time in the 1922-23 campaign before suffering relegations down to the third division South Tier 3, which they won in their first attempt in 1931. And they then finished as runners-up in the 1936-7 season to Luton Town by a margin of just 2 points. The club were back in the third division South Tier 3 by World War II, but again were promoted as champions in the 1949-50 season, and then spent most of the 1950s in the second tier before successive relegations saw them drop back again into the fourth division, Tier 4 of English football. The Magpies then successfully won promotion when they finished second in the 1959-60 season in Tier 4 and missed out on the title by 5 points to Walsall. They returned to the 4th tier by 1964, but were promoted as champions in the 1970-71 season when they enjoyed an unbeaten home season. The next season, 1971-72, they finished 4th in Tier 3 and then went on to win promotion out of the 3rd Division Tier 3 under the stewardship of Jimmy Cyril in the 1972-73 season. They made their return to the top flight by finishing runners-up of the 2nd Division Tier 2 in the 1980-81 season. At the end of the 80s, they ended up, though, back in the 3rd tier, and in the 1987-88 season, Notts County finished 4th in Tier 3, and then under the management of the one and only Neil Warnock, they masterminded playoff successes in 1990 when they beat Tranmere Rovers in the Tier 3 playoff final to win promotion to Tier 2 after finishing 3rd in Tier 3. And then in 1991, and then in 1999, when they finished 4th in Tier 2 and managed to beat Brighton 3-1 in the Tier 2 playoff final, which saw them promoted back to the top flight again. In the 1995-96 season, the club secured a 4th place finish in Tier 3, but they unfortunately did not win promotion as they lost 2-0 to Bristol City in the playoff final. They fell back into the basement division by the 1997-98 season, though, unfortunately, but did manage to finish the season as Tier 4 champions. However, following a financial crisis, they were relegated again in 2004 before they won the League 2 Tier 4 title in 2009-10 amid a takeover bid from a Middle Eastern consortium that eventually fell through despite great publicity and initial expectations. This whole sorry saga was highlighted no better though, sadly, by the Sol Campbell saga, when Sol Campbell signed a 5-year deal with League 2 side Notts County in August 2009. Campbell said that County, who had recently been the subject of a takeover by a Middle Eastern consortium, were the best club for where I am at the moment in my career. And that the recent appointment of ex-England manager Sven-Göran Eriksson as director of football played a big role in his decision to join the club. He made his debut for Notts County in a 2-1 defeat at Morecambe at Christie Park on the 19th of September. However, he walked out of the club just 3 days later and his contract was cancelled by mutual consent. He later admitted he felt embarrassed and that he was being a mug in believing the club's owners were ambitious billionaires and who intended to take the club back into the Premier League. The whole situation was extremely sad and incredibly cruel, in my opinion, to everyone who was involved with the club. I mean, you know, to have your hopes built up like that and then completely dashed must have been absolutely awful. Notts County were then relegated back to the bottom tier at the end of the 2014 15 season and remained there until the end of the 2018-19 season, when they were relegated from the Football League for the very first time in their history. So here we go. We've finished our visit to Notts County. We're leaving the Magpies now, letting them get on whatever it is they need to get on with. And we're now going down to the southwest of England. We're going to go in and have a look, meet another lot of birds called the robins, Bristol City. So let's go and find out what Bristol City have got to say for themselves. Now, they are nicknamed the Robins, and they were formed in 1894, and they last played in England's top flight in 1980. For three successive seasons between 1902 to 3 season, 1904 and 1902 to 3 season and 1904-5 season, the Robins secured 4th place finishes in Tier 2, and they then followed this up in the 1905-6 season by winning their Tier 2 title and gaining promotion to Tier 1. So finally they managed to do it. Then in the 1906-7 season, they achieved their highest ever league finish of 2nd in the top flight, when they finished 3 points behind title winners Newcastle United. They were also FA Cup runners in 1909 when they lost 1-0 to Newcastle United. So it seems like they had a bit of trouble with Newcastle United in those early years, doesn't it? I mean, they must have been sick of the sight of them, I guess, by then. Anyway, so the game with the cup final that year was played at Crystal Palace, and it was played in front of a crowd of 71,000, which to date has been the club's only appearance in an FA Cup final. In the 1920-21 season, the club secured a 3rd place finish in Tier 2, and this was then followed up in the 1922-23 season by winning the Tier 3 title, whilst only losing 1 home game all season. After being relegated from Tier 2 the season before, actually. And then in 1924-25, they finished 3rd in Tier 3, and then followed this up in the 1925-26 season by finishing 4th in Tier 3, and then the next season on from that, in the 1926-27 season, they finally won the Tier 3 title by winning 19, drawing 1, and losing 1 of their 21 home games. And they scored a very impressive 104 home goals. 104 goals all season at home and away. Then in the 1937-38 season, they secured a 2nd place finish in Tier 3 when they were runners-up to Millwall by a single point. Then in the 1946-47 season, the first season after World War II, the club finished 3rd in Tier 3, and another 3rd place finish in Tier 3 was achieved in the 1953-54 season. Then the very next season, 1954-55 season, they comfortably won the 3rd Division South Tier 3 title, finishing 9 points ahead of their runners-up. Now, don't forget as well that at that time, teams only got 2 points for a win. So that's over 4 match difference. So yeah, 4.5 actually. So if the team had been runners up wanted to overtake them, they would have had to win 5 games as a minimum. So that's quite a gap. In the 1964-65 season, the club went on to finish 2nd in Tier 3 and won promotion back to Tier 2 and narrowly missed out on the Tier 3 title, again this time by 1 point to Carlisle United. And then 11 seasons later, in 1975-76, they secured a second place finish in Tier 2 and one promotion up to Tier 1. Unfortunately, though, their stay in Tier 1 only lasted until the 1979-80 season, and then by the start of the 1982-83 season, they were back in Tier 4 again, and then in the 1983-84 season, they finished fourth in Tier 4 and won promotion back to Tier 3. So unfortunately, it seems that they slided down after getting into Tier 1. They slided down the tiers of English football quite quickly. But they then obviously started to pick themselves back up again. Then in the 1985-86 season, they secured their first of a record-breaking 3 Football League trophy victories when they beat Bolton Wanderers 3-0 at Wembley Stadium in front of a 54,000 crowd. And then the next season, 86-87, they lost in the EFL Trophy final, unfortunately, to Mansfield Town 5-4 on penalties after the game had ended in a 1-1 draw after extra time at Wembley Stadium, again in front of a crowd of 58,000 people. So, yeah, that obviously must have been upsetting because they could have gone on and won the EFL Trophy for consecutive seasons, but missed out by the sounds of it on the narrowest of margins. 4 years later, in 1989-90, the Robins secured a second place finish in Tier 3, missing out on the Tier 3 title by 2 points to the city rivals Bristol Rovers. So that must have been a really bitter pill to swallow because the rivalry between the two of them is quite severe. In the 1997-98 season, the Robins finished second in Tier 3 and were promoted up to Tier 2. 2 years later, in the 1999-2000 season, they returned again to Wembley for the EFL Trophy final, where in front of a crowd of 75,000, they unfortunately lost 2-1 to Stoke City. And then in 2003, they secured 2 successive third place finishes in Tier 3 for the 2002-2003 season and the 2003-2004 seasons, but did not win promotion in either of these seasons because they lost in the playoffs on both occasions. Once when they lost 1-0 on aggregate to Cardiff City in the semi-finals, and then on the second occasion they lost 1-0 to Brighton in the playoff final. Also in the 2002-2003 season, they won the EFL Trophy for the second time, this time beating Carlisle United 2-0 at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of just over 50,000 people. Then 3 years later, in 2006-2007, they finished second in Tier 3 and won promotion to Tier 2. And then following on from this, the very next season, in 2007-2008, they finished fourth in Tier 2, but did not win promotion because they lost 1-0 to Hull City in the playoffs, this time the final. The club then had to wait a further 8 years before they enjoyed any further success, when in the 2014-15 season, they won the Tier 3 title and the EFL Trophy in front of 72,000 people, this time by beating Walsall 2-0 in the final at Wembley Stadium. Right, okay, so here we go. We're back on the bus again. We've done our visit to Bristol, and that's all the birds for today. and we're now on our way back up north again because we're going to go and visit Stoke City. Now, Stoke City nicknamed the Potters because they come from a part of England which has got strong links to the pottery industry, i.e. Stoke-on-Trent, and they were formed as Stoke Ramblers in 1863. The club then changed its name to Stoke Football Club in 1878, and then to Stoke City in 1925. And this happened after Stoke-on-Trent was granted city status, and they were one of the 12 founding members of the Football League in 1888. Now, in the 1921-22 season, the club enjoyed its first notable piece of success when they finished second in Tier 2 by four points from Nottingham Forest and were promoted to Tier 1 in the process. And then 5 years later, in the 1926-27 season, they won the Tier 3 title and won promotion back up to Tier 2. Then in the 1931-32 season, they secured a third place finish in Tier 2, but did not win promotion to Tier 1. And then the very next season, in 1932-33, they won the Tier 2 title and won promotion up to Tier 1. Then 3 years later, in the 1935-36 season, they finished fourth in Tier 1, which was one of only 2 times that they achieved as high a league position as this. Obviously, fourth was being the highest that Stoke City have ever achieved in English football. So they achieved this again in the 1946-47 season, and on this occasion, they missed out on the league title by 2 points to Liverpool. Now, a 16-year barren spell then followed before, in the 1962-63 season, they won the Tier 2 title and won promotion to Tier 1. And this was then followed up the very next season, in 1963-64, by them losing 4-3 on aggregate to Leicester City in the League Cup final. Then in the 1971-72 season, the Potters enjoyed a day out at Wembley Stadium when they beat Chelsea in the English Football League Cup final in front of a crowd of 97,000. It would then be another 7 years before they enjoyed any further success, when in the 1978-79 season, they finished third in Tier 2 and successfully won promotion up to Tier 1. A 13-year barren spell then followed of 13-year barren spell without any league success, then followed until the 1991-92 season, when they finished fourth in Tier 3, and also they won the EFL trophy when they defeated Stockport County 1-0 at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 48,000. And then the next season, 1992-93, they won the Tier 3 title to win promotion up to Tier 2. Now, it has to be said as well that in the early 70s, they did make the FA Cup semi-final on 2 occasions, but unfortunately never actually made it to the finals, getting knocked out in the semi-final stage on both occasions. Once to my team, Arsenal, and I think the other occasion they lost to Sunderland. Then in the 1995-96 season, they finished fourth in Tier 2, but did not win promotion to Tier 1 as they lost 1-0 on aggregate to Leicester City in the playoff semi-final. And then in the 1999-2000 season, they won the EFL Cup when they beat Bristol City 2-1 at Wembley Stadium to win the trophy. Then in the 2001-2002 season, the Potters finished fifth in Tier 3 and won promotion to Tier 2 when they beat Brentford 2-0 in the playoff final. This promotion to Tier 2 was followed up by 6 years later, 2007-8, by finishing second in Tier 2, but they missed out on promotion. They missed out on the Tier 2 title by 2 points to West Bromwich Albion. And obviously this year they won promotion to Tier 1 as well. So that obviously sweetened the disappointment of not winning the title that year. Then in 2010-11 season, the Potters enjoyed their last piece of success when they finished runners-up to Manchester City in the FA Cup final at Wembley Stadium in front of a crowd of 88,000 when they lost 1-0 to Manchester City. Now, throughout their history, they have had arguably England's two greatest ever goalkeepers playing for them, in Gordon Banks, who played for the club between 1967 and 1972, making 250 appearances, and Peter Shilton, who made 110 appearances for the club between 1974 and 1977. Now, Stoke City have competed as well in European club competition in 3 seasons. The first season, 1972-73, they played in the UEFA Cup and lost 5-3 on aggregate to FC Kaiserslautern of Germany in the first round. And then the second season that they played in Europe was the 1974-75 season, when they played in the UEFA Cup again, and this time lost on the away goals rule to Ajax of Holland after the tie ending in a 1-1 draw in the first round. The third and final season, they played in the Europa League and successfully negotiated 2 qualifying rounds and the group stage of the tournament before being knocked out in the round of 32 to Valencia of Spain 2-0 on aggregate. Okay, so we've left Bristol now. We're back on the Warren's Tea Talk tour bus, and we're heading up now to West London to go and visit Fulham, the Cottagers. Now, the Cottagers were formed in 1879 under London's oldest football club, playing professionally. They, well, again, that's another debatable point, isn't it? Because like we said last week, we found out about Crystal Palace. They probably dispute that fact, but there you go. Anyway, they joined the Football League from the 1907-1908 season, and in their first season, they secured a 4th place finish and were 3 points of promotion place and 5 points behind champions Bradford City. So what a bad start to their life as a Football League side, was it? So they did really well. Also in their first season in the Football League, the club progressed all the way to the semi-final of that season's FA Cup, a run that included an 8-3 away win at Luton Town. And in the semi-final, however, they were heavily beaten 6-0 by Newcastle United, a defeat that is still a record for an FA Cup semi-final. Anyway, then in the 1931-32 season, they finished first in Tier 3 and won promotion to Tier 2. And then the very next season, in the 1932-33 season, they secured a third place finish in Tier 2 and ended up 5 points short of a promotion place. Sorry, ended up 5 points short of a promotion place. And then a 16-year barren spell then followed until the 1948-49 season, when the Cottagers won the Tier 2 title and were promoted to Tier 1. 10 years later, in the 1958-59 season, they secured a second place finish in Tier 2 and was short of, in second place finish in Tier 2, and then fell short of the Tier 2 title by 2 points. By 2 points, by which that season was won by Sheffield Wednesday, but they did win promotion to Tier 1 again. Then after a further 11 years, in the 1969-70 season, they finished 4th in the 3rd Division Tier 3, and on that occasion, they missed out on the promotion places by 5 points. So it seems like, from what we've learnt so far, that they keep missing out on like titles or promotions by a margin of 5 points. So that must have been quite upsetting for them, really, to be honest. But anyway, let's move on. They followed this up the very next season, in the 1971 season, by securing a second place finish in Tier 3 and 1 promotion back to Tier 2, and missed out on the Tier 3 title to Preston North End, this time by 1 point. Then the club's next piece of success then came in the 1974-75 season, when they reached the FA Cup final, but unfortunately lost 2-0 to West Ham United at Wembley Stadium in front of a capacity crowd of 100,000 people. The Fulham team that day included in their ranks one Alan Mullery and Bobby Moore, who had captained the England national team's lucky, if I'm allowed to say that, World Cup victory in 1966. Anyway, that's a debate for another day. Anyway, after finishing runners-up in the FA Cup, 7 years would then pass until the club would enjoy any further success, and which came in the 1981-82 season, when the club finished 3rd in Tier 3 and won promotion to Tier 2, and fell short of Burnley, the Tier 3 champions that year, by 2 points. And then the very next season, 1982-83, the club successfully achieved a 4th place finish in Tier 2, but missed out on the promotion places by a single point. So that must have been quite difficult to take for them. I can imagine that must have been horrific. And then in the 1988-89 season, they finished 4th in Tier 3 and missed out on promotion after losing in the playoff semi-finals 5-0 on aggregate to Bristol Rovers. And then after a few near misses in the preceding season, the club fell into the 4th tier of English football in the 1993-94 season. 3 years later, in the 1996-97 season, the Cottagers finished 2nd in Tier 4 to be promoted to Tier 3, and lost out to Wigan Athletic on goals scored for the Tier 4 title. Then, in the summer following the end of that season, in 1997, Egyptian businessman Mohammed El Fayed bought the club for a reported £6.25 million, and he pledged that the club would return to the top flight of English football within 5 years. Kevin Keegan then took over as manager in May 1998, and in the 1998-99 season, they secured the Tier 3 title to win promotion back to Tier 2 with a massive 101 points total and managing to lose only one home game all season. In 1999, Keegan left Fulham to become the new manager of England, the English national team. They followed this success up 2 years later in the 2000-2001 season by winning the Tier 2 title by a comfortable 10-point margin from the second place club, and again amassing an incredible 100 points out of a possible 138 to win promotion to Tier 1, which was their first ever season in the Premier League, and they stayed there until the 2013-14 season when they were relegated. In 2002, they defeated Bologna 5-3 on aggregate to win the UEFA Intertoto Cup, which then gave them entry to the UEFA Cup for the 2002-03 season, where they reached the third round before being knocked out by the German club Hertha BSC 2-1 on aggregate. In the 2009-10 season under Roy Hodgson, known as Uncle Roy by the Fulham fans, management or sorry about that. Or Uncle Roy, as he's known to, or Croydon Roy, as he's also known as. Under his management, they went on to the Europa League final, where they lost to Atletico Madrid 2-1 after extra time. Some of the teams that Fulham dispatched on their way to that Europa League final were Lithuanian team Vietra, Russian side Abka Perm, Italian side Roma, Swiss team Basel, Bulgarian side CSKA Sofia, Ukrainian side Shakhtar Donetsk, Italian team Juventus, and German teams VfL Wolfsburg and Hamburger SV. Fulham also have the honour of being unbeaten at home in European competition. In 23 games, they managed to win 17 and 6. They recorded 6 draws. Then in the 2017-18 season, they finished third in Tier 2 and won promotion after beating Aston Villa in the playoff final. Then finally, in the 2019-20 season, after finishing 4th in the EFL Championship Tier 2, they won promotion when they beat local rivals Brentford 2-1 in the playoff final. Now, this picture that you're looking at now is of the famous pavilion that the club has built into its stadium. Now, the pavilion, which as far as I know is the only ground in the top 4 tiers of English football that has a pavilion as part of its ground, dates back to 1905, and as well as being the changing rooms, the cottage, also called the clubhouse, is traditionally used by the players' families and friends who sit on the balcony to watch the games. In the past, board meetings also took place in the cottage itself. As well as this, there was a large tapestry draped from the cottage which said "Still Believe." It encapsulates the now famous moment when fans facing defeat against Hamburger FC in the Europa League semi-final roused the players with the chant "Stand up if you still believe." So yeah, it's I really like Craven Cottage, and it's I really like the fact they still got that cottage there. It's great. So yeah, that's Fulham. Okay, everyone. So that's it. We've finished today. The Warrens Team Talk bus is parked up outside, and my minions are out there giving it a clean and good rub down and getting it all ready for its rest overnight, and it's in the depot. Anyway, so like I say, that's the end of the show for this week, folks. I hope that you did enjoy the show, and thanks so much for watching. I particularly really enjoyed the story about Fulham, as well as all the other ones, actually. Anyway, if I can be really cheeky and just ask you to hit the like button, the thumbs up button, which is in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and please pass on and share my video with any of your friends, family or colleagues who you think may enjoy watching it. That would be absolutely amazing and really helpful for me. If you can do this by hitting the share button, which is again in the bottom right hand corner part of the screen. And also, if you are new to my channel, again, a very warm welcome here. And I hope you've enjoyed your stay with me. And if you enjoyed the video, please press the subscribe button, again in the bottom right hand corner, so that anytime I submit or put up a new video, that you get to see it. This will also be helped if you press the notification bell, which is quite near the subscribe button. What this will do, it will tell YouTube to notify you as soon as I upload a video onto YouTube. So yeah, so if you could all do that, that would be absolutely fantastic for me. And again, thanks very much for watching all the other videos and for liking the content. I'm really appreciative for that. Anyway, so like I say, that's it for this week. Please look after yourselves. Stay safe. Have a great week. And also remember, as I always say, please keep talking. Thank you guys, and goodbye for now. Take care. Bye.